Hi, this is Lorraine, and I've been guided to create another video. If you'll give me a minute to clear, center, and balance my energy, we'll get started. I would like to encourage you to ask questions in the comments, as well as to see the timestamps to navigate this video. As I was looking at my notes, I realized that so much of what this video is about is perspective, but I think that could be said about any of the videos I've created, because everything we do and experience in this reality is about perception. It's about your perspective on how you see whatever it is that you're witnessing or experiencing. So I wanted to start there. So the first thing I wanted to start with after that is, in the last video I mentioned, often I've heard people say, why does God allow this to happen? And then I stated, why do you allow it to happen, or why do I allow it to happen? And I wanted to expand on that. We are no longer allowing it to happen. We have collectively said no, and we're starting to see it everywhere. We have collectively said no more. And because of that, we are manifesting the change that is occurring. And although it may not feel that way at times, we are manifesting it. And the same way we are manifesting the change we desire, which I refer to as transcendence, this unbalanced energy is also manifesting its reality. And in the last video, I had mentioned I had a very short, clear message that CERN was stuck in a feedback loop. Whatever they have done has put them in a feedback loop. So they're just running, and the metaphor that was shared with me was a dog chasing its tail. So while we are manifesting something beautiful, change that we so desire, this unbalanced energy that is trying to maintain the status quo has manifested their repetition. They're repeating this cycle. And that's what came through very strong this week. And I also commented, change, lasting change happens in the higher realms. Physical change on the material plane is temporary. Lasting change happens in the higher realms. And when I say higher, that I don't really mean higher. It's from an expanded consciousness, an expanded awareness, from a place that doesn't exist in the 3D. And what I keep seeing is the word feedback. And so that was a very specific language that came in with that message, that CERN was stuck in a feedback loop, or CERN had its creators and those who are using it as a tool to maintain control. They are stuck in a feedback loop. And I keep on seeing the D and the B in feedback. And D and B are a mirror of one another, right? They mirror each other. And so the message that comes through with that is, what you put out is what you get back. The universe reflects back that which you put out. And so through their words, actions, intentions, and thoughts, they have manifested what is coming to them, or what is happening to them. Same with those who are working towards transcendence, those who are working towards an expanded consciousness. The universe is reflecting that. The universe is reflecting back that which you put out. And that is a very strong message that's been coming through. Additionally, this is the physical manifestation of divergence. Divergence started in February of 2020, around there. I think a divergence had been happening for a very long time before that, but February of 2020 is when the question started coming through to me. What do you put your faith in? We were being asked daily in our day-to-day lives as we walked out or walked through this world, what do you put your faith in? That's what I feel deeply. We were being asked, what do you put your faith in? And so every moment since then, we have been faced with circumstances that ask us, what do you put your faith in? And this started a very clear process of divergence. Also, in the last 2 weeks, I have had very strong messages revolving around how the consciousness moves us through time, how the consciousness stimulates or triggers us. And that is typically done through our thoughts and emotions. So wounds, if we are injured physically, or we are have to have surgery or something like that, those wounds, we'll have pain in the moment, but then those wounds heal over time. And so we really can't go back in time to re-experience the pain of the wound, right? The pain of, so my appendix was ruptured when I was a little girl, and I can't really go back and recollect that intense physical pain, but I remember that I was in pain. I remember I had to have emergency surgery and so on, right? And the scar is still there, but the wound's healed. There's no more pain. But emotional wounds, when I think about emotional scars, emotional wounds, deep pain in my life, once those thoughts come into my head, I can literally be brought back into that moment through those emotions. I can literally feel the pain in my heart, or the uncomfortableness in my stomach, whatever I was experiencing emotionally at that time. Those emotions can literally bring me right back to that moment. And those are often my triggers. So even though those experiences aren't always in the forefront of my mind, when I experience a situation where I feel endangered or unsafe, that often is a trigger, because my subconscious is telling me, you're unsafe, you need to do something that makes you feel safe. And so in the past, I could act out verbally or aggressively, not assertively, aggressively, to try to protect myself, because as a child, in many circumstances, I didn't feel protected or safe. So I had to come forward in an aggressive manner, in my mind, to let people know to stay back, that I will defend myself, however that may look, right? And so my point in bringing this up is that those emotions and those thoughts can literally move us back into those moments. It can literally move us back into those moments. Even though we don't, our physical 3D body isn't moving back with us, our consciousness is moving into that moment. Equally, beautiful, wonderful thoughts can move us back into those moments. My father and my grandmother, anytime I think of them, they not only remind me why I should have faith, why I should trust people, why it's okay to love people. They remind me when I think about being a child and handing my dad tools while he was working on the car, or when I think about working in the garden with him, those moments remind me of why life is so precious and beautiful. And the same thing with my grandmother. When I think about when I was a little girl, I was way too little to understand what I was doing. I still remember I had to crawl up onto the couch with my chest like a little kid, pulling myself up. I still remember pulling myself up on the couch, sitting next to my grandmother while she was praying the rosary, and I would just mimic her. And I was so happy to be with her, and I just wanted to be just like her. And those moments, and she influenced me in such a way that I've spent my whole life trying to be as kind and compassionate and accepting as she was of everything and everyone, regardless of where they come from, their race, their religion. All those things are irrelevant. It's the quality of the person. That's what I focus on. And that comes from her and my father. And so in those moments when I think about both of them, I literally transport myself back into those moments. And it fuels my soul. It fuels me. It reminds me of who I am and why I'm here and part of my purpose. And so this last week I was actually engaging someone in the comments, and we just had this brief interaction about that, and I felt it was important to talk about. I wasn't going to talk about it, but the fact that it was coming through for the last 2 weeks and I actually had an engagement with someone about it, I felt it was important to talk about. So these experiences, I would refer to them as time traveling. I am traveling back through time to have that experience. And it is reminding me of things that are very important. Another epiphany I had while I was writing my notes and I was thinking about this idea of time traveling, the clearer my energy is, the more balanced my energy is, the more vivid the experiences are. When I did what I call a spiritual walkabout in 2017. It was something I had to do. I had to do it. I have very strong messages about going to 3 different places. One was the Dalmatian Islands in Croatia, a place called Milna on the island of Brač, I believe it's pronounced. I went to Auschwitz in Poland, and I went to Old Jerusalem. And when I was in Croatia, I went and swam in the Aegean Sea. I went out on a boat, did a boat tour, and I spent a lot of time in the water. That night, or that day actually, when I was walking around, we went to several different islands. When I was walking around, I could see the aura of everything. I literally could see the aura around plants, trees, people, everything. I kept on taking pictures of everything to see if it would come up on film. It didn't, but it was profound. It was very profound. That night, I kept on feeling there was something in the mirror. So I went to the mirror and I touched the mirror, and then I took a picture of the mirror. And I looked at the photo, and there was a hand on the mirror, and there was a dove. A reflection of the light created an image of a dove above the mirror. And the hand wasn't mine because the fingers were really long. but it was definitely 5 fingers and a hand. And then that night, I woke up in the middle of the night and there was a Bigfoot at the foot of my bed. Go figure. But my energy was so clear. I had all these profound experiences. Also, I was talking. I was like packing my stuff. I was leaving the next day to go to Jerusalem, to go to Israel, and I was literally having a conversation with my dad, his younger self. And my dad was still alive at the time, but I was literally having a conversation with him in our living room. And then I would snap out of it. I'd be like, what is happening? And so I'd start packing again, and the conversation would start. Would restart. It happened several times. And I did write in my journal, but I didn't I didn't read it before I started the video. But ironically, all the photographs I took on that trip were deleted or removed from the cloud, from my computer, everything. Only the 2 weeks that I was gone, which I found interesting. It was a little upsetting in that moment, but because the experiences were so profound. But today it really doesn't matter. And I realize I have to let that go. I had the experience, that's what I needed. The other thing is, I didn't say it, but it was very important to say when I was talking about how emotions and thoughts move us through time. The negative or unbalanced emotions, when I talked about my childhood traumas and how those trigger me and how they bring me back to my childhood, this is why it is so important to release the energy or the attachments to those emotions. When you can have those emotions, you can recall those emotions. But when you release the attachment to the emotion and the experience, then you don't run the risk of being triggered and moved back into that childlike state. Because that's what's happening. I'm trying to protect my inner child. I'm trying to protect myself. I'm trying to protect the little girl that never felt protected, that never felt safe. And so when I can remove my attachments to those ideas and those emotions, then I release the triggers. I'm sorry I didn't remember that in the moment. I didn't talk about it. But lately, there's just been, I get these like floods of information that have come in, and they're a little bit overwhelming. And I feel like I'm talking really fast. I don't know if you feel that way, but it feels very quick. It feels very quick. So sometimes I get caught up, and it feels like I'm like a record skipping. Like I skip pieces that are important. So I apologize. So I just wanted to talk about that for a minute, because I just feel it is so important as part of my discipline to maintain clear-centered and balanced energy. I do it daily. I do it multiple times a day. And I do it with everything. I do it with my energy field, the space around me, my tools, my food, my water, like everything that I engage, touch, utilize. I'm constantly clearing it. And the clearer my energy, the more vivid the experiences. And I typically don't differentiate these things, but whether it's astral traveling, remote viewing, moving through what I feel is moving through time, whether I'm going to the void, moving myself into the void, those experiences are clearer and more vivid as I maintain clear-centered and balanced energy. And so I would like to encourage people to find their way. Another thing that came in today was about CERN. Again, I don't know why this is such a hot topic or energetically keeps coming in, but why did CERN happen? How did CERN come into being, right? Who gave it, whatever, whoever, permission to build such a thing? Why did we give permission for such a thing to be built? Why did we ask for such a thing? And so what was coming in was the archetypes: government, world organizations, the scientific community, including colleges and universities, currency or economies, and the social structure. Okay, we created the infrastructure that created CERN, right? Why did we do that? Because we trusted that infrastructure. We trusted that infrastructure, right? So we trusted it when it put CERN in place. It was the events from 2020, starting February 2020, that started us questioning that infrastructure. It was those events that started us thinking to ourselves, does this infrastructure really have our best interest at heart? And again, this is the beginning of divergence. This was the beginning of us looking around at the world and saying, is this what we want? Is this okay? Are we okay with this? And if not, what do we do? What do we put our faith in? What do we trust in? What are we looking for? What kind of change are we looking for, right? All these things that we're thinking is what began the intensity of the transition. I think the transition's been happening for a while. I do feel that very strongly. But it was most poignant and most pivotal starting in February of 2020. That's how I feel. And so what CERN represents is the physical manifestation of divergence. CERN is a physical manifestation of divergence. CERN represents what is happening to those who are choosing to repeat the cycle. It's a physical manifestation of repeating the cycle. And what we are going to see, and what is going to start showing up like spring, as I was discussing, looking for signs of spring, we'll see signs of transcendence. We will see the things start to manifest or start to show itself in our world that shows us that we are moving to a different place, that we are moving to transcendence. And what this looks like, the message I get constantly about what this looks like, we can't even imagine it. We don't have any sense of what that will be because it is beyond our hopes and dreams. It's truly beyond our hopes and dreams. It's beyond anything we can imagine. And there are things happening right now that are actively moving us forward. If you'll give me a minute, let me see if anything else comes in. All right, I think that's it. Thank you.